Today we are going to be talking about how to shift your reality. And no, this isn't like a video about like some cool little manifestation hacks that you can do. I am talking about literally changing your identity to the core so that you can attract the wealth, the freedom, the partner, and the body that you want. Because for the longest time, I knew that I was meant to be at a higher potential. I knew that I could achieve all the wealth, the dream body, all of it in the world, but I was consistently priding myself on my potential. And for a while, I was just doing little manifestation hacks. I was visualizing, doing affirmations, and then I was wondering why nothing was changing. And on the other end of it, I was looking at my vision board, forcing all the results, calculating every macro in the gym, doing all these like relationship courses in order to attract the high value man. And I just ended up feeling burnt out, emotionally drained with very little results. So today we are going to be breaking down your identity to its core, because it doesn't matter how much visualization you do or how hard you work. Ultimately, you will never feel like you are the woman on your vision board if you don't change your identity to its root. I want you to picture yourself sitting in a movie theater, okay? And these two types of girls that I just described, which I was both of them. First, I was sitting in the movie theater watching the movie, and since I didn't like the movie, or AKA my reality, I would get up and just paint over it, right? I would just completely paint over it, and then I would sit back, and the problem was the projector was still projecting itself right onto the paint. And that was me just forcing my results and hoping things would change, sitting back and realizing that nothing is moving, and now I'm completely drained and burnt out from literally spending all my energy just painting over this projector that wasn't meant to change to begin with. And the other half of me was sitting in a chair in the movie theater, and I didn't like the movie that I was seeing, so I was sitting there with my eyes closed, just visualizing, affirming, and pretending like the movie didn't exist. But then every single time I opened my eyes, my reality reflected exactly what I didn't want to see. So how do we actually change the movie on the screen and figure out how to change ourselves so that that projector changes what we're looking at or changes our reality? So in order to establish exactly how to change our external reality, we must first understand that everything that you are living right now is a projection of your consciousness. Everything that you're experiencing is a mirror reflection of you, right? So in order to change that reality, we have to change our identity. But what even is identity? Identity isn't what you think about yourself or your personality or even your habits. Your identity is basically your subconscious beliefs that you hold about yourself. So these are beliefs that you don't even know exist because they're based on a programming that you had within you from a very young age. You've taken those subconscious beliefs and you've hardened them into a fact. But this fact isn't just obviously like ringing in your ears all the time. Like you don't wake up in the morning and say, I have lack, like I have a belief that I can't achieve the wealth that I want. No, on the surface level, we say, I want to attract more wealth. I want to attract the perfect partner. I'm going to work to get my dream body. But at the end of the day, if we don't truly believe within our subconscious brain that that is possible and that we are already embodying that, then we are going to continue staying exactly where we are, no matter how hard we work or how many manifestation hacks we do. So I like to use this analogy. A fish doesn't know that it's in water, right? It's just swimming around mindlessly, and it doesn't think about the fact that it's swimming in the water, but at the end of the day, it is swimming in the water. Your identity is rooted in these beliefs and these programmings that you've encountered from childhood. Call them trauma, call them life experiences, but regardless, you are being programmed like a computer. And even though you get out of that physical circumstance, your mind, your identity, your subconscious beliefs that you're not even aware of are still rooted in that scarcity until you actually overcome them. It's almost like a thermostat, right? So if I set my thermostat to 68 degrees on the dot, It doesn't matter if I'm opening up the windows or if I have fans blowing or if I'm, if I put on the radiator and make it super hot. Momentarily that thermostat might go up or down, but at the end of the day, it's always going to revert back to its baseline identity, and eventually it's going to switch on and bring the temperature right back to 68 degrees. So our identities work in the exact same way. It doesn't matter if something in our physical reality changes. Our beliefs, if they are still rooted in what we do not want and in a reality that doesn't fit our maximum potential, our baseline is always going to go back to that identity and keep us stuck. So how do we actually go about changing our entire identity and actually rebuilding it from the root up? Well, I created this chart here to explain to you guys exactly what identity is based off of. And we are going to be going through each one, breaking them down to the root so that you understand exactly how to rebuild your identity to match the woman on your vision board, to match your highest potential, and not just to match your programming. So the first link of the chain is that identity is rooted in perception. Now, what is perception? Perception is how we view our physical reality. And I like to categorize physical reality in 3 tiers. Okay, we have your money and your abundance, the way that you view that in your current reality. We have your body and your self-image, so the way that you view yourself in your current reality. And third is how you view love and relationships. Because after working for years on my own self and hundreds of clients, I've realized that those are the 3 things that people normally are looking to change within their reality. They're either trying to find love or grow it, find money and grow it, or change and better their own perception of themselves to just become a better human in their physical body, in their health, in their mind. Your subconscious beliefs act as a filter for what you notice or what you focus on. And this can go even deeper into science, your reticular activating system. And this system is designed to be able to filter out and allow you to focus on exactly what it is you want to focus on. There's 2 people, right? I can walk into a room of wealthy people talking about business and a very high elite class of people. And if I walk into that room, I can perceive them as one of my own. I can feel totally comfortable and know exactly how to act, not even know how to act, but just the way that I act reflects that I am completely comfortable and only see abundance, wealth, luxury, and I feel safe in that space. Now, the old version of me could walk into a room with very elite, wealthy, successful people and feel almost uncomfortable and be focused on how I'm being perceived, how I'm acting. I would be matching other people in order to feel safe in that environment. But notice how there's 2 different people walking into the same environment, but they feel completely differently. They put on completely different masks. And that goes to show you that those 2 perceptions are just completely different. Look at it as well as like a rich man and a poor man. Now, I'm going to use a lot of analogies when it comes to wealth, just because I feel like society and humanity is divided in classes, and this is just like the easiest way that we can understand. There's a wealthy man and a poor man. A wealthy man walks into a store and he may look at the exact same items as the poor man, and he might not think about money, right? It's not because the wealth came first, but because he didn't walk into a store and just think about how expensive everything is, right? The poor man, he may walk into that exact same store, and it doesn't have to be a designer store or anything crazy, but he may be looking at prices or even just thinking to himself, I'm not even gonna look around because I can't afford anything anyway, right? Look at how those 2 different perceptions completely change and are at the basis of these people's lives. The way that you perceive your body, money, and love is in that same way. We just have to break down exactly how you're perceiving them. To give you another example, the difference between somebody who doesn't believe in love and somebody who does believe in love. They may be going to the park, looking around, and they may see a couple sitting on a picnic blanket having a picnic. The person who believes in love is going to look at that, and even if they're single, even if they're married, it doesn't matter. They're going to look at that and say, oh my gosh, look how beautiful. They look so in love. Meanwhile, the person who doesn't believe in true love is they're going to look at that same couple and they're maybe going to think about how they got cheated on, or they're going to assume that maybe that couple is cheating on each other. And that isn't just because of their circumstances or because of their past. It's because they have trained their mind and their reticular activating system to focus on what it is that they perceive. The basis of these perceptions, right? So the way that we view money, love, and our bodies is rooted in our beliefs, subconscious and conscious. And beliefs are the next part of the chain. So understand that you have a subconscious mind and a conscious mind. Remember the analogy that I was talking about where you're sitting in a movie theater, right? You are sitting in the chair of the movie theater, right? Watching the movie that's being projected onto the screen. Now that is your conscious mind. You are aware that you are sitting in a movie theater and watching the projection that's on the screen. Your subconscious mind is the you that's actually playing the movie behind you all the way in the tape and in the film and in the projector. That is your subconscious mind who's actually running the movie. And understand that your subconscious has beliefs about the movie, and so does the version of you that's sitting in the chair watching it. The only difference is that you are consciously aware that you're watching the movie versus you being consciously aware that you are the one playing the movie. Now, these beliefs, whether they're conscious or subconscious, ultimately are developed and rooted in reoccurring thoughts, or what I like to call ruminations. Ruminations are thoughts that occur that are stemmed from our deep subconscious beliefs, but they come into our conscious brain to where we can notice them. But we have the choice to either feed these thoughts or starve them. So for example, I used to have an issue where anytime I would go in public, right, and I was intimidated by somebody that looked better than me, I would look at my man to see if he was looking. In me doing this, thoughts would come up, right? I get the first thought that would be like, he just looked at her. Then the second thought would come up that would be like, what is he gonna look again? And then the third thought would come up that would say, does he really love me if he's looking at other women? And then a fourth thought come up, maybe he's lusting after other women behind my back. And notice how these ruminations, as I kept feeding one thought with another thought and with another thought and with another thought, I was building a fake story that wasn't even true. He may not have even looked at the girl. Ultimately, the thought wasn't the problem. The problem was that I had the subconscious belief that I wasn't secure within myself, that potentially I could lose my man based on lust. And that was a fear of abandonment within me. But again, this fear, this subconscious belief that I wasn't even aware of was rooting up thoughts. So again, you can decide to ruminate on a thought and make it bigger and make it stronger and make it into a story that you end up consciously believing, or you could notice the thought come up and decide where it's coming from and whether you want to continue feeding it or not. Your thoughts are not random. They aren't thoughts that just appear out of nowhere. Those thoughts are rooted in a deep subconscious belief that, again, you aren't even aware of. I wasn't aware of the fact that I was scared of being abandoned or that I was scared of being with a disloyal, lustful man. After figuring that out, now every time I get a thought like that, I know that it's coming from me. This is also why affirmations for me just felt so empty at a certain point, because I would notice a thought come up. And instead of just confronting it and asking the question, why am I thinking this way? Where is this coming from? Instead of feeding it, and also instead of asking myself the questions, what I would do is I would try to positively reaffirm it in the moment. So I would say, no, he's not doing that. I am with a loyal man. Or when I got anxious thoughts about money, I would say, no, it's fine. I am abundant. But understand that that is equal suppression, and your body and your mind and your soul know when you are pretending. And so positive affirmations, again, do not work by themselves if you haven't tackled that deep-rooted belief within yourself that is causing you to think the thoughts in the first place. Emotions are the next part of the chain. Wherever you decide to let your emotions take you creates an emotional baseline. This emotional baseline exists as your vibration. So when I think about money, right? And now I understand my belief about money. And now I get down into the thoughts that I have about money. It's the emotion that I put behind those thoughts and where those thoughts end up leading me that decide whether I'm attracting more of that low vibrational lack frequency or whether I'm attracting a high vibrational abundance frequency. Emotions are your superpower. They are energy in motion. They determine what vibrational frequency you are at to be able to either attract more of what you want or more of what you don't want. And so for the longest time, I would try to force positive emotions as well. I would notice these thoughts come up and I would say, no, but like I need to be happy. So I would go and like do something to be happy, or I would try to meditate and like force these happy emotions. But the problem was, again, at the root of identity. I was simply trying to mask these negative emotions by forcing more positive emotions. But what I was really doing was I was admitting to myself that I'm scared of the negative emotions. And so I just need to chase this positive feeling in order to combat it. And it would create this mental and emotional battle in my mind, which made me even more emotionally burnt out. So understand that you are going to have negative emotions. Sit within the emotion and ask yourself the right questions. If you don't break the beliefs that then lead to the ruminating thoughts, that then lead to the emotion that you're carrying behind them, then your baseline for money, for wealth, for relationships and love, or for your own body and self-image, they are going to always go back. That thermostat is always going to reset, and you're always going to go back to the low vibrational emotional frequency. So again, by just changing your emotions, that doesn't make a difference, because if I'm happy right now in this moment, but my emotional baseline tells me that every single time I'm just in neutral, that I still go down to that low vibrational frequency, then I'm really not attracting what I want by being at an emotionally high frequency in that moment. What matters is where your thermostat is set. Where do your emotions and thoughts go when you are thinking about literally anything? And that is what determines what you are able to attract in your physical reality. And God, the universe, infinite intelligence, whatever you want to call it, is here to give you exactly what you want. So what happens when you have ruminating thoughts and then you attach an emotion behind those ruminating thoughts? The universe reads it and says, okay, Veronica is in a low vibrational state right now. I love her so much. I'm just going to give her more of that lack. I'm going to give her more of that anxiety. I'm going to give her more of whatever her emotional baseline is at in terms of her vibrational frequency. Think of yourself like a radio, right? It's not that you need to completely get a new radio in order to have a different channel and attract a different frequency. No, you are a radio, so you have multiple channels already within you. It just matters which one you decide to tune into. And so I've heard a lot of manifestation gurus talk about this, but they don't actually go into depth and explain exactly how to change that channel and change that frequency. So let's say you get a thought, okay? Let's say you get a thought and it's a thought where you feel that anxious emotion come up. Maybe it's a thought about not making rent. Think the thought, I'm not gonna make rent this month. All of a sudden you're like, what if I don't make rent this month, right? The minute that you catch that thought, take a step back and ask yourself, where are you feeling this emotion? What emotion even is it? Is it anxiety? This anxious emotion is tuning me into the thoughts, which create the beliefs, which create the perception, which create the identity that is in line with the channel or the reality that I am experiencing. It's not about how can I change my emotion. It's about asking yourself, where does this emotion come from and what do I truly believe? Do I truly believe I'm not going to make rent this month, or am I addicted to the emotional baseline of anxiety? That doesn't mean that you're not going to feel it, but there's a difference between feeling an emotion and feeding it versus feeling an emotion and separating yourself from it. And understand that even if I feel anxiety right now, this isn't who I truly am. This isn't what I really believe. And that in and of itself takes you from being in the channel of anxiety, which is attracting you more lack, which is attracting you this reality that you're currently living of being stressed about rent, and it completely detaches yourself from it. It tunes you back into the radio, and it gives you power to understand that you are the radio to begin with. And just by having awareness of which channel you are in, you are now able to divert and change it to a different channel. Body, your mind, and soul, it knows when you are pretending. It knows when you know, hey, I am in a negative state right now, let me try to be positive, versus I am in a negative state right now. What belief is tied to this to where I'm feeling a negative emotion? What is really the truth about who I am? Everything that is physical in this world that you are trying to change is simply responding to who you are. It does not respond to just what you want. And that's why vision boards alone, scripting, affirmations alone will not change anything until you address the root of your own personal identity and where all of it even stems from. It's the same thing when it comes to forcing your results. Because if I truly believe that it is going to take me forever to get to my dream body, if I truly believe at my core that I am unfit and that I'm never really going to be able to get there, and if I do get there, it's going to take a lot of time and a lot of energy and a lot of burnout and resources, then that's the exact channel that I'm going to be living. I like to believe that there are multiple realities occurring at the same time, meaning that I literally could make any decision right now. I could take my laptop and throw it and smash it. Like I could just quit doing this altogether and delete my Instagram, and then that would create a new channel of reality. Actions create an infinite, endless possibility of any single reality that you want to be living. But again, it's so easy for us to sit here and be like, one little action could change your entire life. But what determines what makes you take the action? And ultimately, it is your identity. Because we don't take action without opportunity. We don't take action for no reason. We have to take action if we know that there's going to be a result or an opportunity, even if it doesn't make sense because it's clouded by our subconscious beliefs. Our emotional baseline is at the root of it all, and it determines what we attract. We've established that in order to change our reality, we must first change our identity. We know that identity is rooted in how we perceive the physical reality around us. It's how we perceive ourselves and our bodies, how we perceive money and abundance, and how we perceive love. And those perceptions are rooted in our beliefs, subconscious and conscious, about ourselves. Those beliefs are rooted in thoughts and in ruminating thoughts, in the thoughts that we either decide to feed or we decide to starve. And then those thoughts are rooted in our emotions. And our emotions are our energy in motion. They are our energetic superpower. They determine exactly what state we are in order to be able to change the radio channel that we are living in. And so now that you completely understand how to change your reality, what is actually the first action step to going about it? So I'm going to be showing you guys the action steps that I took in order to change my identity into the identity of the woman on my vision board to attract everything that I want. I'm going to take you guys back to the analogy again of you sitting in the movie theater. That you have been living your entire life in the programming, which means you have been living your entire life in the seat of the movie theater, just watching the screen and not thinking that you have any control over what the screen is projecting. So the first step is to put yourself all the way behind the projector and understand that you're in control of the camera. But how do we do that, right? So again, put yourself in the movie theater. Imagine you're watching the movie, there's people walking up and down, there's people throwing popcorn, there's candy on the floor, you have an icy next to you, and there's all these distractions to where you can't actually get up, stand up, and walk to the back of the theater to get to the camera and to change the film. So the first step is to make the movie theater, or your mind, completely still. By cultivating stillness, you cultivate the awareness to be able to step back and notice the thoughts, notice the emotions right as they come up, and not to change them, but again, to ask yourself the right questions in order to get to the root of the belief that you have to change. One of my favorite books ever is The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success, and the author talks about how your mind, picture it like a water, like a pond. Right? And when that pond is super still, you could skip a rock on it or throw a pebble in it and you will notice it right away. But if that pond has 6-foot waves and is just like totally tumultuous and is like a tsunami, you could throw the Empire State Building in it and not even notice a thing. So again, the first step to changing your reality is to create stillness within you. And the first way that I started to create stillness was by meditating. You can start with literally just 5 minutes if you've never meditated before. It's going to be very uncomfortable, but understand that anything that's uncomfortable is growing you, and it's something that you need to face. So set a timer for 5 minutes in the morning and at night, and just sit in complete silence and watch your thoughts. The biggest mistake that I made with meditation for the longest time was I was like, okay, I have to create stillness. So I would sit, and any little thought that would come up, I'd be like, oh, like I'm messing it up. I'm messing up my meditation. Like, why can't I just be still? Guys, stillness is the skill. Meditation is just the tool that gets you to the skill. So by you sitting there being frustrated about not being able to create perfect stillness is creating another thought, which is creating another wave in that pond, which is what you're trying to avoid. So understand that, especially if you've never meditated before, starting this journey is not going to be easy. But as long as you stay consistent with it, you will start to notice how your mind starts to calm down and cultivate that stillness. And then you're able to carry that stillness within your daily life. And that's exactly how I went from starting arguments with my man that were based on stories of him looking at other women that weren't even true, to actually being able to be in the moment, notice the thought come up, and ask myself the question, take extreme responsibility, and say, is this really true? Did that just happen? Or is this thought rooted in a belief that I hold about myself and about my relationship that really isn't true? And the second step is actually breaking the beliefs, because the first step is actually starting to become aware of that bottom of the tier, right? It's starting to become aware of your emotions and your thoughts. But once you start to become aware of those, what's the next step? The next step is journaling. Journaling has literally benefited me more than years of therapy, of counseling, of talking to friends, of talking to my mom. Journaling has allowed me to cultivate the uttermost self-love, because I was actually able to get to the root of the beliefs. Because once you're able to ask yourself the right questions, right? You become aware of those thoughts, you become aware of these emotions. Now you're able to actually sit down with them and write them down and ask yourself the questions why. Write about them, get those emotions out. Because again, now you're standing all the way behind the camera, right? You're standing behind the projector, and you now know that you have the ability to be able to change the film. But the only way that you actually change the film by understanding what it is about the film that you're actually trying to change. Because unfortunately, you just can't take the whole film out and then just replace it with a whole new one from day to night. You might actually have to go in and learn how the camera functions to begin with. You might have to turn off the projector first. You might have to go through a series of steps to be able to actually find the beliefs, write about them over and over and over again, so that you become a master of that camera and you know exactly where those beliefs come up, and you can start to change them in real time. None of these two steps will work unless you have the relentless belief in your potential. If you are watching this and you've made it this far, you aren't like the rest, because you know that whatever it is that you want to achieve when it comes to money or love or your body or just genuinely the life of your dreams, simply by the fact that you have the idea in a higher potential means that you are able to achieve it. It means that it is an active radio channel within your radio. You just have to tune into it. So understand that you will never get anywhere unless you know for a fact that you are going to get there. You have to know that you are that girl. You have to know for a fact that you have the ability to stand up out of your seat in that movie theater and walk to the back and find that freaking camera. So first, start meditating, create that inner stillness. Second, start to journal. Ask yourself the questions. Find out what beliefs are in your programming that are actually holding you back from being able to achieve what it is that you want, and break them every day. I didn't just journal once and then I was like, oh, that belief is broken. This requires extensive work. The reason why I say that is because I have been able to manifest things out of thin air, and then they collapse. For example, with with my business, when I first started my business, I was doing all the affirmation, I was grinding, I was putting in the work, and to say that I didn't make money would be a lie. But I made a lot of money, and I made it really fast, and I lost it just as fast. I lost it all one day to the next. So when I tell you that these little manifestation hacks, they work, and feeding into hustle culture, it might work, but it eventually will all collapse if you don't have your identity solidified in that version of yourself. So having utmost belief that you are her, that you are going to get there. You may not feel like her momentarily, but remember, momentary emotions don't mean anything, whether they're positive or negative. It's the emotional baseline that you create within yourself, starting with the meditation and starting with the journaling, to then be able to climb the scale all the way up and build and craft an entire new identity. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I really hope it broke down a lot for you. I know it was a lot of information, so I really hope you took notes. But if you are looking for that next step, if you are looking to break this down personally, I created a 5-day mini course for you guys filled up with downloadable worksheets that are personalized to you so that you know exactly, stemming all the way from your emotions, all the way to your perceptions, exactly what it is you need to change. And we are in real time establishing your identity versus the future you's identity so that you can bridge the gap. So I'm going to leave that down in the description below. Be sure to check it out. And if you haven't followed me already on Instagram, I post way more content on there about this stuff almost every day. So follow if you haven't already, and leave a like, leave a comment, show some love if you got something from this video. I freaking love you, and I hope you have a magical rest of your day in your new identity.